Do you ever feel like life's challenges are holding you back? What if I told you that these very obstacles could be the key to unlocking your personal growth and family wellness? Today, we're exploring the concept of temple prisons and how embracing difficult experiences can lead to profound transformation in our lives as parents. Hey, parents, welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. Do you want to raise your kids better and have a stronger marriage? Are you up late at night researching marriage and parenting tools and self care tips? Do you start each day hoping for deeper connections and less chaos, but it ends with family arguments and going 12 different directions again? My name's Kendra, wife, mom, therapist, and growth enthusiast. It wasn't until I discovered how to fulfill my unmet needs that I was finally able to show up as my best self as a spouse and parent. I realized that by meeting my needs, I could more fully meet the needs of my family with more energy and less resentment. In this podcast, I teach parents skills like boundary setting, prioritizing personal needs, communication, and claiming ownership. Just like my clients, you'll be shocked by the improvement in your marriage, parenting, and personal life when you focus on fulfilling your important unmet needs. Ready to prioritize yourself so you can quit mentally throat punching people? Then grab those earbuds and head outside, and let's rock and talk. Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy. I'm your host, Kendra Nielsen, and today's episode is deeply personal, yet universally relevant. It's my birthday, and I find myself reflecting on recent experiences that have taught me valuable lessons about slowing down, reconnecting, and finding growth in unexpected places. Today, we're exploring temple prisons and how they transform our lives. So, this last week has felt unusually heavy for me. And not just for me, but for my husband, for my clients, for my husband's clients. It just feels like there's this communal gloom that has descended, almost like this blanket of despair that seems to go beyond just personal feelings. And this collective heaviness can stem from many things. It could be the time of year, it could be life events or family challenges. And for my family, it's been over a month now of illness, culminating in my own bout of pneumonia. I thought we had made it through all of my family members except for my husband because my son got it briefly in the beginning, or so I thought. And then Saturday, just when everyone finally seems like, okay, in the next few days, I think we're going to get through this. My son came home with a very fierce temperature. And I just thought, man, how am I going to keep doing this? In this grand scheme of things, 5 weeks of pneumonia, and this is pretty intense pneumonia, like this has wiped us out. This has been a big challenge for me. I love to play. I love to get outside. I love to have freedom. And this is the epitome of the perfect storm of me feeling restless and like a caged animal. And navigating that on top of being on bed rest myself for quite a while has been a challenge to say the least. So there's a lot of time for reflection recently. You can likely even hear it in my voice. I don't know how long before I will have it back completely. This morning was my first time back in the gym for a while, and I was just coughing nonstop. So hopefully you'll be able to understand me okay today. Carl Honoré said this: "The great benefit of slowing down is reclaiming the time and tranquility to make meaningful connections with people, with culture, with work, with nature." And this really resonated with me and my recent experience. I love goals. I love recommitting to different things and getting still and intentional about what I want to do. And recently, as everyone else has talked more about their goals and I've been forced to slow down a little bit, I can't help but think there's this deeper well of wisdom that wasn't there before. And hopefully I can keep remembering it. But we're often so frantic in our desire to achieve goals instead of really seeking to understand why we're doing them. It reminds me of one of my clients. She is so excited to set goals and do all these things, which I love. And yet, in the process, she misses the mark many times because she's so focused on nailing that thing and crossing it off her list that she shows up as a very often mean parent and it just very irritable and annoyed with anyone for distracting her. And I've been there myself. I understand what that's like. Then I reflect on these experiences where that just seems so silly to miss the mark so much, where we can still accomplish the things that we want most, but in a better way. I want to talk about my lessons from my temple prison. Now, if you don't know what a temple prison is, that's okay. I didn't know what it was either. But it sounds kind of like a paradox, right? A temple is somewhere very holy, very beautiful, very remarkable. And all of the things you would want to slow down, to reconnect, to find purpose and meaning. And a prison is very dark and dismal and terrible and awful and all of the things in all of the ways you can imagine. So, how can both of those things exist at the same time? Often, these transformative experiences that are really dark and dismal become a very holy and beautiful experience because of those challenges. Like I've shared several of those before, like the death of my father, the death of my brother, and also other things like having two premature children or having two miscarriages or holding my baby as she stopped breathing for 4+ minutes. And all of these health experiences, these challenges have become temple prison experiences that make me who I am today. And I want to explain this concept so you can explore your own temple prisons. So during my recovery recently, I made a conscious decision to embrace this temple prison experience, this challenging experience that becomes this opportunity for profound growth and transformation if I let it. So I chose to let go of schedules and expectations. I chose to focus on healing and being present and to really dive deeper into my mantra for this year, for 2025, which is I am calm, I am considerate, I'm attentive, I'm loving, and I'm mindful. Now, could I be those things in the midst of all of my other to-dos and my lists? Now, not always, but that is what I keep going back to over and over. I am calm. I'm considerate, I'm attentive, I'm loving, I'm mindful. And yours might be something entirely different, but that is my mantra for this year. And it reminds me of Alan Watts' wisdom. He said, "There is no hurry. It is all here. So take it easy." So by letting go of my usual drive to overwork and overproduce, I created this space for this genuine healing and reflection that really could only come about in this temple prison when I allowed that to happen. Now I want to talk about the trap of busyness that I see so many of my clients get into, and I get myself into as well. One of my clients recently faced a wake up call when her husband expressed this desire to potentially end their marriage. And despite her productivity and her busy schedule, she had neglected what mattered most, and that's connection. We get so frantic in our busyness and in all of these things that don't matter that we avoid the things that matter even more. So she'd avoided her husband's pleas for change for years, focusing instead on work where she felt more confident. And mentioned in session, like, maybe I want to start training for a marathon. I care deeply about all of my clients, but I just wanted to hit my head against the wall over and over, just thinking, you are missing the point. You're going to lose everything because you're so frantically trying to fill up that time with things that don't matter, not in the long run. What really matters, what she has shared over and over that matters, is not being reflected in her day-to-day life. And we do the same things ourselves. What are we avoiding? How can we redesign our life for freedom and for effectiveness? I was talking to a friend recently about the book, The 4-Hour Work Week, and I love this concept. And I've been rethinking how to maximize freedom and minimize unnecessary work, especially considering these different clients that I've just talked to you about. And this applies not only to business, but to family life as well. For example, I could utilize my youngest daughter's love for organizing to tackle some of my household tasks that feel so overwhelming. With my team, I could focus on where I shine and outsource the rest of those things. I don't have to do it all myself, nor should I. And every business person out there will tell you the same thing. Mae West said this: anything worth doing is worth doing slowly. That goes so against my nature, and I know many of our natures. By slowing down and focusing on intentional living, we create that space for growth and connection, not only for us, but for people around us. Are we missing the mark? Are we busying things up and not really doing anything that actually matters? And I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but is it just busying up our lives instead of allowing for connection? So, that concept of temple prisons reminds us that challenging experiences can be deeply educational and transformative, but again, only if we allow it to be. Have you had something challenging recently? Did you allow that to be a teaching experience that caused you to slow down and reevaluate and make some shifts? During my recovery, I've learned some of these lessons myself. I've learned to slow down, to reevaluate my priorities, and embrace the idea that less can be more. I would say mostly is more. And live life fully by not being too tired to savor it. That's another thing that I was thinking. Like, I'm very good and efficient with my time. And yet, when my children get home, I often am so depleted that I just want to be by myself again because I'm so mentally exhausted. And I do wonderful, fun, fulfilling work. And yet, if I have nothing left to give by the time they get home, am I missing the mark? And are we doing the same thing, whether you're working or not? Like, how are you designing your life so that your time can be spent in the best way for the people that matter most? Walter Hagen said this: you're only here for a short visit. Don't hurry, don't worry, and be sure to smell the flowers along the way. Now, that is like so trite, and yet it is true. Like, are we hurrying through life? And are we missing the point? I want to share very brief stories about 3 people. No matter what your faith is or where you line up here, they all have important lessons. One is about Nelson Mandela, one's about Joseph Smith, and one's about Joseph of Egypt. And these are all experiences about transformative periods of imprisonment that describe this temple experience or this temple prison that I'm talking about today. So I don't know if you know the story or the background about Nelson Mandela, but he's one of my heroes. He spent 27 years in prison, with 18 of those years on Robben Island. And he was in harsh conditions, often laboring in this lime quarry. He had limited contact with the outside world. He used this time for personal development. He studied, he strengthened his resolve, and he developed this philosophy of reconciliation that would later guide his leadership in ways that couldn't have come about in another way, most likely. So Mandela's prison experience became this crucible almost that forged his character and prepared him for his future role in leading South Africa in a way that no one else could without that time for personal development like Nelson Mandela had. And then there's another one, Joseph Smith. I was thinking about imprisonment, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a literal prison. Well, Joseph Smith was imprisoned in Liberty Jail for about 4 months during winter, and he experienced terrible conditions like cold, hunger, mistreatment. And during this time, he had some really profound spiritual revelations, some of which are in the Doctrine and Covenants right now. This experience deepened his understanding of suffering and strengthened his faith and provided guidance for the church during this challenging period. And again, this couldn't have come about in any other way without that temple prison experience. Now let's talk very briefly about Joseph of Egypt. So his imprisonment also lasted several years, and I've thought a lot about his story too. And I can't imagine how distraught I would have felt being betrayed by your siblings, feeling like there's no hope, and having the will to keep moving forward day after day. Well, during this time, Joseph maintained his integrity and his faith, which I'm sure was not easy if he saw a way out potentially. And he really rose in position and responsibility within the prison. He was able to interpret dreams. I don't know if you remember the story, but especially about Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker. And that ultimately led to his release and his position of power in Egypt. So, this time for him in prison was a period of preparation, and he really honed his skills and deepened his trust in God during that experience. Now, this could easily have gone the other way, where he became more bitter, where he became more of a criminal in that prison experience. Like all of these, they could go either way. But what do we do with these experiences? In all of these cases, these periods of confinement were both physically and emotionally challenging, but they served as crucibles for character development, for that spiritual growth and that preparation for future leadership. They were crucial in their development. And these show us that these temple prison experiences, these experiences of adversity, they become this catalyst for profound personal transformation and spiritual enlightenment. Now, I can't compare my experience with pneumonia to these three experiences. These are obviously very extreme situations of literal imprisonment. And yet, we all have our own temple prison experience that can be that catalyst for change, that crucible for character development that we so desperately need. And that is really a gift to us. But in our own finite understanding, we often don't see that because we're in the thick of it. But when I think back on my other experiences too, those pivotal shifts in my life, those temple experiences, I recognize that they helped me transform and grow in a way that nothing else could. So, in this tiny temple experience recently, I've been able to slow down and reconnect with what truly matters and embrace that intentional living instead of just frantically existing and going through the motions. And we can find that greater fulfillment and meaning in our lives as well, whatever our temple prison experience might be. I hope this helps you, my friends. I hope you're able to dig deep and look inwardly in a way that maybe you haven't before. Thank you for joining me today as I shared some of these personal experiences. And if these ideas resonate with you, or you have your own temple prison story you'd love to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out at hello@fulfillmenttherapy.org. And if you ever feel like you'd be a great fit for the show, we'd love to chat with you. So you can email us there as well. As always, you can find all of our information in the show notes. And don't hesitate to sign up for one of our courses, whether you want to start your own podcast and become a leader yourself, or you want to take your mental health and wellness to the next level. We have 6 courses. If they're not all available right now, they will be shortly. Thanks again, my friends. We have a new episode every Monday and Thursday, so I'll see you in just a few days. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you. No matter what your house or your hair looks like, I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.